My name is Sarah Deal, and I'm joined here today by my colleague, Ali Hogan. We are business intelligence and analytics consultants based out of Philadelphia and will be your presenters for today's webcast. Please don't hesitate to reach out to either of us via our contact details on the screen if you wish to have a longer discussion about today's topic. Before we get to today's agenda, I'd like to outline a couple objectives for today's short session. Overall, we'd like to introduce you to our methodology for creating business-driven, impactful analytics, and we'll do this by going through the methodology step by step, highlighting some customer examples along the way. This will be the majority of our presentation, after which we'll conclude with some considerations for getting started. Before we jump in, I'll give a brief introduction to Thorogood, and then I'll share our approach for our iterative analytics development. For those of you who don't know Thorogood, we are an independent global professional services firm specializing in business intelligence and analytics, strategies, solutions, and services with a keen focus on our customers. We're a global company with offices in New York, Philadelphia, London, Bangalore, Singapore, and Sao Paulo, Brazil. All of our consultants are recruited and trained in the same way to develop a unique mix of skills, blending business understanding in the form of industry and functional experience with strong technical aptitude and deep understanding of analytical tools and techniques. We offer a full range of BI and analytics services, including strategy and roadmaps, requirements, design, implementation, and training and support. Our clients typically span 4 data-rich verticals: consumer goods, pharmaceutical and life sciences, banking, and insurance. Our clients are some of the leading organizations in these sectors, and we take a lot of pride in the long-standing relationships we have fostered with some of the names you see here. These organizations are large, complex businesses, and we rely on our thorough business understanding and deep technical expertise to deliver successful solutions to their business challenges. In terms of the technologies we work with, we are an independent consulting firm, meaning we don't work with one specific technology. We do, however, work and partner with many of the key players across in the market in order to provide our clients with the solutions that best suit their needs. In today's webcast, we will be discussing our iterative analytics methodology with a particular interest to our Microsoft partnership and Power BI, but of course, the same methodology can be implemented on other front-end tools such as Tableau or Qlik. Now that we've reviewed our brief introduction to Thorogood, let's get into the meat of our presentation, our approach to creating business-driven, impactful analytics. To position our approach, we thought it would make sense to first ask the question, why bother? As in, why bother with a methodology for creating impactful analytics? This is a good question and something we're often asked by our customers, especially as it isn't particularly difficult to find cheap dashboard developers. To outline why it's worth considering your approach to creating impactful analytics, I'm going to talk through several outcomes one could and should hope to achieve when evaluating your approach to creating such analytics. First, we have adoption. Of course, central to any BI investment is the goal for people to use the tools and dashboards that are created. Not surprisingly, this is something that many organizations struggle with. Second, and some may say the byproduct of adoption, is more informed users. I've listed this as a second goal because while adoption will drive success here, this also relies on your dashboards actually providing value. Dashboards that don't meet a business goal won't leave anyone more informed. Next, we have more efficient business processes. People can expect this change as a result of investing in informative and well-received dashboards. Such dashboards will allow everyone using them to be better at their job and for the business as a whole to be more efficient. Next, we have realizing your technology investment. This is often a concern of IT or those owning the licensing and infrastructure costs of a technology investment, and the quickest way to justify such investments in technology is with valuable and impactful outputs that people are eager to use. Following realizing technology investment, we have faster, cheaper costs to implement. Here, we are referring to the initial and ongoing investment to create and maintain dashboards. Any approach you choose should be flexible and fast, adapting with the business. Spending weeks and high costs to add a field to a table, for example, won't work for anyone using the platform. And finally, we have better decision-making, which is really at the core of each of these results. Ultimately, this is why anyone invests in business intelligence solutions, to drive better decision-making across the business. Stemming from our core principles, after years of working on BI projects and refining our approaches, we've developed our unique methodology for creating business-driven, impactful analytics. We'll spend time today discussing each of the steps in more detail over the next few slides, but at a high level, we start by defining the business concepts and organizing what we call an inspiration session. After this workshop, a first draft is created and shared with key stakeholders. Rapid iterations of feedback and analytics changes allow for the incorporation of feedback from the business users to provide actionable insights while following key analytics principles and engaging with the users. Before the fun of developing dashboards can begin, it's crucial to identify and define business concepts that will be used for this approach and assemble the key stakeholders who should be involved throughout the process. The approach relies on early input from the key business users to influence the design and development of the final reports. So it is important to identify the proper audience for the initial inspiration session and further feedback sessions. For example, dashboards for U.S. supply chain users should take input from the heads of various manufacturing sites and warehouses within the network to influence the analytics required for them to run their businesses more efficiently. In addition, this phase may involve a tool selection exercise to decide on the appropriate visualization tool best suited to fit the user's needs within the organization. Here, you might be debating whether Tableau, Click, or Power BI, or something else altogether might be the best tool. Each tool selection decision is unique and should be made while considering the people, tools, data, and processes that exist within an organization. If you're interested in a conversation about when to use a certain tool, please reach out to me and I'm happy to discuss this topic in more detail. Next, the inspiration session is an initial workshop where we bring together the key business and IT stakeholders to discuss the vision and purpose of the dashboards. The session usually starts with a business user explaining a key problem and how reporting and visualizations can help answer these questions. A discussion on the business goals for the dashboards helps shape a collective understanding of what success looks like. Then the fun begins and everyone is invited to share their ideas and brainstorm the design of the reports and visualizations. In addition to the front-end design, it is important to start to consider the data sources and identify the key fields that are required for the development of the first draft. While we can't go into detail around a specific inspiration session due to confidentiality around customer use cases, we thought it would be valuable to give you all a sense of what an inspiration session might look like. As we discussed, the inspiration session is meant to bring a variety of different ideas and views together to create a shared understanding of the business goals for a particular use case, as well as share what's technically possible. We'll typically achieve this by pulling from a variety of different sources, as well as whiteboarding ideas live within the session. In the example above, we've collected several different samples into a PowerPoint deck to help facilitate the session. Within this sample deck, we'll first start with an introduction to the inspiration session in which we'll review our methodology, much like we're doing today. Next, we've collected several report examples from the customer. These examples are meant to give a flavor of the types of questions a team might be looking to answer. These samples will likely not be in the tool we're looking to use, perhaps in Excel or a PDF. Ahead of the session, depending on what we've received from the project team, we'll draw out key metrics, dimensions, or visuals to help provide value. We'll also encourage participants to bring their own content to the session, which wouldn't be listed here. Next, we have some relevant anonymized project examples. These are examples we've brought from other projects. With our 30 years of BI and analytics experience, we have been through several different iterative analytics cycles, and the various results from these cycles help shed light on the art of the possible. Lastly, we have some examples from Power BI Showcase and the Wall Street Journal. As we mentioned, public sites might also provide valuable examples for an inspiration session. When considering the business functions for an identified use case, our project teams will investigate current events as well as what's available on the web to help inspire our business users. Some users have said things like, "Could we make this look like Google?" or "I like the experience of Amazon." Any ideas are fair game. I'm now going to hand it over to Allie, who's going to take you through the rest of our approach and share a client success story.
Great, thanks Sarah. So after collecting and compiling the notes from the inspiration session, we'll begin working on the first draft of the dashboard in the chosen front-end tool. The goal is to keep momentum with the business users and create the first draft with a relatively short development cycle using sample data. Of course, the actual development time will be dependent upon the complexity of the dashboards, data availability, and the chosen tools. But the intent is to translate the inspiration session ideas into a working prototype to be used as the basis for ongoing feedback sessions. Leading visualization software options like Power BI and Tableau allow for building visualizations with just a few clicks, thereby decreasing the amount of investment required for a first draft. As I mentioned, the first draft is usually done on sample data set to allow for focus on creating powerful visualizations rather than getting bogged down by the database development or data validation testing. For example, Power BI lets you connect to sample data extracts in Excel to more quickly create something that people can provide feedback on. Then, in parallel to the front-end iteration, the required back-end development can be completed to surface the required data elements based on the reporting needs. This approach ensures that any back-end development is done for a purpose, as in done in alignment with the reporting needs, to reduce the risk of long, drawn-out database projects with minimal business impact. Within the first draft, while we know that the value of analytics is certainly realized in the eye of the beholder, when we create dashboards, we use visualization principles across the board to ensure that the dashboards we create are grounded in sensible design. These principles also drive the philosophy behind many of the software tools we work with, so employing these principles with the tools works pretty well. First, we have clean, simple, and intuitive. The best data visualizations show all of the right information and nothing else. Good visualizations highlight key messages, trends, issues, and anomalies. Data points that should get attention jump off the screen at the user, for example, using a red-green coloring scheme based on threshold values. Insightful dashboards should display metrics in the context of relevant comparisons. Metrics are displayed relative to their targets or across data attributes that make them more meaningful to the audience. Appropriate visualizations make the best use of position, size, color, and shape, using the right tool for the right job. Graphs can be traditional or more trendy, but they need to use all of the variables to make them compelling. Interactivity enhances analysis. The experience of the visualization is important to answer the what and why. Each data point should be within a few clicks of the mouse. And finally, performance. Of course, performance is consistently identified as one of the key factors of adoption and should be considered throughout the design and development of the first draft and further iterations. After the first draft, we'll host a series of feedback sessions to share the latest version of the dashboards. We'll collect the feedback and incorporate the changes to further enhance the dashboards, keeping in mind the key visualization principles mentioned on the previous slide. As the dashboards come together and the functionality is developed, the users may tweak their initial thoughts or have more ideas on ways to analyze the data. This approach allows time for and even encourages this type of feedback throughout the entire process. Usually, the end result looks drastically different and better than the initial inspiration and first draft. We'll facilitate many of these rapid iteration meetings over a number of weeks to continually refine the dashboards and ensure it remains aligned to the business goals outlined during the inspiration session. Depending on the changes, Power BI dashboards can offer live feedback sessions where the comments are incorporated into the dashboards on the fly during the meeting. Throughout the cycle, users are able to provide their input and influence the end result of the dashboards while building excitement for the final product. In addition, any required data development can be done in parallel behind the scenes, so when both streams are ready, we just need to repipe the dashboards to the production data sources and the dashboards are ready to go. Now that we've covered our methodology in detail, I wanted to briefly discuss scaling out this approach. As we've discussed, one of the key benefits of our approach is that you are building buy-in as your dashboards are being developed. So investing in your inspiration sessions and rapid iterations will not only produce powerful dashboards, but also your users will be excited to start using it. That being said, you can also easily scale this approach to work with many teams at once across several different use cases. When considered scaling out, it's important to consider the following items. First, business priority and impact. It may be beneficial to take stock of where the highest impact areas are within your business and focus there so you can have the most immediately realize the value of impactful analytics. If you have several high priority use cases, consider scaling out with focus groups of business users to service each priority. Next, we have key user availability. This process really works when your key business participants have the time to invest in the sessions. So, as you begin to scale out this approach, it's important to consider the number and length of inspiration sessions or rapid iterations you will have, as to not tie up too much time from those business leaders. Finally, supporting data development. You'll need to consider your underlying data sets and how your data needs to be structured to support your dashboards. If you have individuals working on your underlying data structures, you'll need to consider how you manage their workloads so they can adequately support those creating your dashboards. With many of our customers, we are commonly working on multiple streams of dashboards using the scaled-out approach of our iterative analytics. In this example, a consumer goods client is interested in dashboards on 3 different focus areas. I'll share a high-level project plan to just give you a sense of how these streams overlap. As an example, for the finance stream, this data is already readily available and surfaced in a SQL database, and we're ready to get started with the inspiration session and first draft development in Power BI. While this is the ideal case, we know it's not always that easy. So for the sales stream, there's some additional data work required to pull in some additional fields that are important for the front-end reporting. This results in parallel development of the back-end data and front-end dashboards. Because the back-end changes are relatively minor, everything can be tested and released at the same time to the end users. However, we know that some data sources will be more complex to service for reporting tools like Power BI. In this example, the client was implementing a new marketing system, which required a fair amount of effort to pull the data into their SQL database. After completing the first drafts of the finance and sales dashboards, we got started on the marketing dashboards on top of flat files with a defined structure incorporating the business requirements and the intended database design. This meant that the database development could continue in parallel without negatively impacting the dashboard stream. In this example, the data took a bit more time and there was a bit of a gap before the dashboards could be cut over to the new data sources in SQL. With tools like Power BI and Tableau, this swap is fairly straightforward, and by utilizing this approach, the marketing dashboards can be released in quick succession when the data is ready, providing more insightful analytics to the end users in a timely manner. So, I know we've covered quite a bit here around our unique approach for creating impactful business-driven dashboards, and we hope that you can see a variety of benefits to this approach. Let's highlight a few relating back to some of the key goals we raised when considering your approach to creating impactful analytics. First, sustained involvement from business users promotes user adoption and strong use of your technology investment. As we discussed, with our approach, key users will be involved throughout the creation of the dashboards. This involvement will ensure that you are building buy-in as well as an understanding of the solution as the dashboards are being developed. Second, our inspiration sessions help to focus the dashboards on key business problems driving the biggest value. Rather than guessing on these questions, our inspiration sessions will bring together the key business and technology people to drive focus on the most critical business questions for the dashboards to tackle. As we mentioned when considering our key goals, taking weeks and thousands of dollars to add a field or a new visualization will not meet the needs of eager business users. These rapid iterations reduce time and cost to implementation. Finally, expertly created business-driven dashboards ensure outputs will be valuable to those making the key business decisions. Going back to our fundamental approach to creating business intelligence and analytics solutions, this approach ensures that you're not missing the point with your projects by focusing on a hot new technology without a business goal in mind. Now that we've gone through our approach, I'm going to share a recent customer success story and then talk through how to get started. One recent client that I worked on was looking to evangelize Power BI within their organization to make more informed, data-driven decisions. In the current ways of working, each of their division presidents for the regions within the United States had to sift through pages and pages of PDFs to understand the highest priority items that required their attention. Sound familiar to anyone? One user even commented that it took so much time to read the pages of reports that by the time you got to the last page, you already had the next report in your inbox and the information you just read was out of date. So, We met with these users and hosted an inspiration session to understand a bit more around their objectives. After our first draft and a few iterations, we created a suite of Power BI dashboards which clearly show the main KPIs, with red-green coloring to focus attention on the locations that are falling behind target. Throughout the 12-week project, the users kept adapting the requirements based on additional ideas they have and were continually asking for access to these new reports. Now, they are looking forward to and excited about using this first set of reports and already starting to work on the design and development of the next group to further increase their ability to make insightful decisions using analytics. So now, you might be wondering, well, how do I get started? We suspect you might be already thinking about some business users who could benefit from this approach, and this is where we recommend getting started, by defining the business concepts. There are likely many value-add use cases throughout your business, so I suspect you'll have many to choose from. As you identify your use case, you'll want to determine those who should participate in your inspiration session. Remember, these should be the key business stakeholders. You may also decide which front-end tool you'll use. Lastly, it's worth taking stock of the data you have to support your use cases. If the data needed to support a specific use case is more readily available, then it may make the most sense to get started with that one. Thorogood can help with any aspect of getting started, and if you're interested in learning more about this methodology or any specific aspect of applying it within your use cases, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can find out about all of our upcoming events and register on our website. I've put our contact information on the screen, so please feel free to reach out directly if you're interested in more details. Thanks, and have a great day.